Okay. Hi, my name is Shijidi Sylvia, and this interview is for CS 5970 Text Analytics. And I'm going to interview Dr. Samuel Huskey from the Department of Classics and Letter from University of Oklahoma. And the reason for why I chose Dr. Huskey is that he does a lot of text analytics in or maybe analyze text that are available in classics, or do work with editorial, does a lot of editorial work with critical editions.
Right.
And I thought that you would be a very good resource for us in the class to kind of see what kind of what are the opportunities for text analytics in literature or classics in general.
Okay.
So my first question is, can you tell us the skills and the techniques of text analytics do you use in your daily work?
The skills and techniques that I use can be divided into two basic areas. There are traditional skills that we've always used for centuries in Latin textual criticism, and that involves just reading manuscripts, understanding how they're written, being able to compare them, understanding the style and tone of the various works that we're dealing with, and knowing the traditional tools, the reference works that are important for that kind of work. But then on the other hand, now there are some digital tools that make that work easier, facilitates the work. Such as word search engines that are tailored specifically to Latin texts that help us compare how authors use words and phrases, help us understand when words were being used in the different periods, how the usage evolved over time. Also, it can help us to identify literary allusions, how one author might be referring to another author in a text. So those are the primary digital tools that we use, mostly text lookup and comparison.
And I know you mentioned about a couple of the digital tools. Would you like to name some, or what are the tools that you use the most?
I use the Packard Humanities Institute's Latin text database, which is available online. I also use the tools available at the Perseus Digital Library, and there's a subscription-only tool called the Brepolis Library of Latin Texts that I have access to through our university's library. There is a desktop tool called Diogenes, which helps you search the corpus of the PHI Latin texts. And sometimes I will go to the Latin library site that you've been working on if I can't find the text anywhere else in a library or online. Those are the main tools I'd say that I use on a regular basis.
Okay, so my next question is probably geared towards do you see the new Latin students or scholars to use text analytics type tools more in the future, or what are the prospects of that?
Yes. Students are already using the various tools available. Can we pause?
Sure.
Sorry for the interruption. It's Oklahoma weather time. I think students are already using a lot of digital tools to help with their assignments. They use online dictionaries. There is a website called, I think it's No More Dictionaries. I think that's the name of it. That will allow students to copy and paste in a text, and it helps them to be able to have definitions on hand rather than having to scroll through a dictionary. They use morphological analysis tools that will tell them the grammatical structure of various words. So they're already using those kind of tools to help them understand the assignments that they have on a daily basis. I'm sure as we move forward with the various technologies, more sophisticated tools of visualization and text analysis will become more prevalent, but I think you'd see that more on an advanced level or a graduate level rather than beginning students.
Okay. And my last question is kind of longer, but that captures that's the last question.
Okay.
Discuss future trends or future applications in your area that involve text analytics. How do you see your area developing in regards to data science or text analytics in the next 5 to 10 years?
There's a lot of potential, I think. For the past 20 to 30 years, people in my field have been doing fairly basic word searches and textual analysis, if you want to call it that, just by looking for combinations of words, phrases, so on and so forth. They haven't been looking at comparing large swaths of text to see how the word usages are similar. They haven't been doing any real work with visualizing the associated information with the text. So by that I mean the variant readings that occur in the various manuscripts. They haven't been looking at one text and its reusage of words and phrases across a corpus. So being able to search the full corpus for long strings of text rather than just one particular word, I think that's going to become more and more prevalent. Depending on the development of the tools, of course, I think we're going to see an increase in the sophistication of the kinds of text analytics that are used in classics.
Would you like to also talk a little bit about the DLL project that Dr.
Sure.
Weaver, yourself, and Dr. Junobus and your team is working on?
Right. So the project that you and your classmates have been working on has been to provide at least the same level of functionality that has been available to classicists and other Latin scholars for a long time. But at the heart of the mission of the Digital Latin Library Project is moving the field forward with the use of the kinds of sophisticated tools that are already available to people in computer science, like data visualization, for example. So that's where we're kind of on the cutting edge with the Digital Latin Library and providing tools that visualize information that just hasn't been available to people in a digital format up until now. That also, of course, includes starting with the model for representing all of that information in the first place, but also making that information available to developers of the various visualization and analysis tools that are in development. So I'd say that a major focus of the Digital Latin Library is trying to push ahead the field into this area of data analysis, so that it's less driven by the kind of, I hate to use the word primitive, but primitive searching that people have been doing, and open it up more to the really interesting things that can happen when you see data on a grand scale.
Right, and I can mention that the project I'm working within the DLO project, the storyline visualization, what it does is it actually considers the edit distance between words and different corpus manuscripts. So
Right.
we have multiple manuscripts for the same text, I guess, because the texts are probably lost or copied over by, there's scribal variation, so multiple people copied the same text and the original text got lost. And nowadays what we have is that those lost texts exist, but they exist in various form.
Right.
And what you and your people in classics usually do is they like to do textual criticism. They like to create critical editions of
Right.
of those texts and create a single edition that they think replicates the original text the
Right.
most. And would you like to? I'm probably not doing it
No,
justice.
you're doing a great job of explaining what we do. I recently heard someone explain that the kind of information that we've traditionally included in a printed critical edition really breaks the format of the book. And that's because there's so much information that is related, presented in a visual way on a page that, and it's trying to serve so many different purposes that you really, the format makes it of limited use to a wide range of different types of readers. It's really available only to people who understand very well what all of that information is. So the tools that you're developing and some of your fellow students have been developing are ways of fixing the broken book, presenting the information in a way that is more intuitive, more visually apparent, rather than just strings of text that may or may not be related to each other and require a fairly high degree of background education in order to understand.
Right.
So.
Well, thank you for your time, and that's the end of the interview.
Great.
Thank you.